Hey everyone, Eggman here with another video, and today we've got 2.5 events to go over for the FB06 meta of the Fusion World card game. We had a couple events this weekend. We had 4 big ones. I have the data for 2 of them, a little bit for 1 of them, and then nothing from the other one. So we're going to go with what we have. If that gets updated anytime soon, it's going to be on my website, Eggman Events, which you can find linked behind me. But we did have the TAC Games offline regional. We had the Italy offline May regionals as well. There's an event in Chile, which I don't have a deck list for, and there also was in Japan, where we've got the first and second place list as well as the leader breakdown. So we're going to go over kind of my thoughts for all of these events. We're going to look at some deck list as well, and just kind of go over my thoughts for the FP06 meta now as well. So again, if you want any of these deck lists, you can find them on my website, Eggman Events. Also, if you go to this tournament and God rank deck list, you can find this table, which has all the deck lists that I've been able to find that have any kind of success in this format, and you can check them out there as well. So starting off though, we do have the Italy one. So this was an offline regionals. It was 9 rounds of Swiss best of 1 into a top 16 best of 3. 258 players in the top 16 were 4 Son Goku, 3 Majin Buu Evil, 3 Vegeta, 2 Jiren, 2 Vegeta Mini Daima, and 2 Broly BR. We also do have the leader breakdown, with 50% being across the Majin Buu Evil, the Goku, and the Vegeta, and then a little bit of the rest of there, so you can see that kind of breakdown. I don't get that data very often, so it's very nice when we do get to see it, and we did have FB3 Goku win it. We also do have the TAC Games May offline regionals, and unfortunately I do not have the leader breakdown for that, but there were 2 Majin Buu Evil, 2 Vegeta, 1 Goku, 1 Vegeta Mini, 1 of the FB05 Goku, which I'm excited to talk about in a little bit, and 1 FB01 Goku, Aandroidd 17, which you can find out that too. So I also do have a bubble deck list. We've got John Argios. He has got a list of Broly BR if you want to check that out. And then lastly, for the Japanese one, so again, I don't have a lot of data for this one, but I do have a little bit. This is the leader breakdown into their top 16. They had over 500 players, I believe, for their event, at least over 300, and of them there are 8 copies of FB03 Goku, with 1 of them winning the event, 2 Jiren, 4 Majin Buu Evil, 1 of the Goku GT, in the Broly BR. So I don't have data for any of these other deck lists. If I find any of them, I will be adding them to my deck list table. If you guys have any information on any of these too, let me know, but I do want to go over them as well if I can. But generally speaking, I don't want to like make it like over-tuned for this, but I feel like it's just still FB04 meta, right? We do still sometimes get like, you know, Broly BR get some tops here and there, but generally speaking, I feel like this meta is still the same meta that we've had for the last, you know, 2 metas, right? It's just the fact that these decks are just so good. They've not been power crept at all. They don't even need any support, right? They're just good with generally just cards from FB04 and earlier, specifically Goku. Like there's just occasionally you add the new Goku secret rare for this deck, which is just marginally better for going for game, but like it's still really good without that card, right? People play like 1 copies of it. So I think this kind of shows like more of what this deck, what this format's kind of looking like, right? Just the fact that we do just have so many different decks that are just very viable right now, and but they're just mostly just boils down to FB3 Goku and Majin Buu Evil most of the time. So we do have like the new Vegeta Mini Daima, which does get some success here and there, and I do think it's like another version of blue, but it does do well. Jiren had a little bit more success this week, and then we do have some green decks still kind of plopping around, but not really doing, I think, as much as some of the other decks. So we are going to go over the topping deck list for decks across these events, though. We're going to start off with the FB03 Goku itself. So we do have the first place list from Satsuki from the Aichi region in Japan there, and then we also do have the list here from Giuseppe, who got their first place finish from the Italian regionals too. So generally speaking, it's the deck construction for these are very limiting. You need to run as many Saiyan City cards as you can. I think like the only real decision is if you're playing the Great Saiyaman 2 package or not. This being able to be a 10k that plays out a body, having 2 4-cost bodies on the board means it's a little bit tricky for your opponent to get rid of both of them too. Just even though it's just a vanilla, it's still just very good because it's a 4-cost that plays a vanilla 4-cost, right? So that's still a really good kind of combo. Obviously, you need to set it up, but it isn't too terribly difficult with how this deck works, since we have so much cycle with just drawing from like a Resa, the fact that we're able to draw like with her leader effect on the backside, draw 2 top 1, as well as the You Prefer Girls with Short Hair. This card just being very good at being able to find her deck, and it's fact that you can find it and recycle it with Pilaf and Videl. You guys already know this, right? This is nothing new in any way. So again, the only kind of new card that we add to the deck is the Son Goku Childhood. This with a Final Hope Slash becomes a 75k double strike, which is just a huge number, right? and help you go for game, but you don't need it, right? We still don't need to run really anything outside of the archetype, right? There are sometimes, adding Zeno, right? I know a couple of people who do that every once in a while, like the 6-cost Vegeta from FB04, right? But generally, by and large, this is still just an FB04 deck, right? It's mostly an FB03 deck that adds this Videl. I think this is the only card you really need from FB04, and then the rest is just a little bit of extra fluff. So generally speaking, I do hope something happens to this deck in the future. I think it's pretty clear that it's been pretty dominant for a long time now, and something needs to happen. It's not going to happen organically anymore, in my opinion, and hopefully that does change in a little bit. But we do have our winners here, and congratulations to Satsuki and Giuseppe again for their wins with the Sun Goku. Next up, we've got Majin Buu Evil, and this is BMA. And I will say that Majin Buu Evil is like the slightly less powerful deck between the two of them, but it does, I think more people are on it in general, and because of that, it does top a little bit more. I think it's a little like the gameplay style too. Also, if you look at the Italian regional too, it was the most played leader of them. So I'm going to kind of, I don't think it's going to be like outrageously more than any of these other 3 decks, but I do think it's a deck that, again, a lot of people are on. But we do have BMA's version, which was able to win the TAC regionals there. So generally speaking, right, I think the kind of newest deck a lot of people are playing are the Pui Pui. This is a card just to help you have some free interaction with the Broly matchup if they play the Planet Vampa, right? Being able to get rid of that stage is really great. Also, it can be really good against the blue Son Goku, right? You can get rid of the Orange Star High School too, which generally has been an unremovable card in a lot of matchups. So again, this is especially just on a 10K in a color that usually kind of lacks generic 10Ks. I think it's a welcome inclusion to this deck. Other than that, we do have like our Majin package, right? We do have a lot of 1-drop draw cards. Honestly, Babidi is the most important card in this deck right now, and so because of that, you don't really want to run the 1-drop Bibidi because it doesn't search the Babidi. You just rather hard draw it with the Yamu Sorbet and Sake Demon. So one thing I will say about this deck is that it does draw a lot, but it doesn't consistently search for cards, so that can be a little bit of an issue with it. We do also have like the 4-drop Frieza, only 1 copy of it, but it can be good for Jiren and kind of other tough matchups that kind of depend on having their bodies on board. We also have the Fierce Hyper Beam to be able to get an additional draw, as well as to be able to rest something or stun something if that needs, right? Especially with Son Goku, you can get some extend your turns a little bit more. And I don't really have much more to say. You guys know how this deck works, right? It's obnoxious. It's very good at applying a lot of pressure. And again, I think it's been clear to me that this deck has been very good for a very long time. And I don't think it's going to happen. And I don't think anything's going to happen to it organically. I think something needs to happen inorganically, right? I think some probably restrictions are probably on the way for this deck as well. But here's the build here. Congratulations for BMA for their finish with Majin Buu Evil. The next up, we've got Jiren. And so we've got 2 lists. We've got Jukki's list, which is able to get 2nd place in the Japanese tournament, as well as Demir's version, who was able to get a top 4 finish in the Italian regional. So he also did a video with Ice Loom, so you can find that checked out in the description. I have that linked if you guys want to watch there. They're going to have a way better oversight on this than I will, but I will do my best nonetheless. So first, one new kind of package we have for this is the Dr. Flop. So this being able to say on play for Leaders Awaken, add up to 1 battle card with a cost of 3 or less and an Aandroidd and special trait from your drop to your hand. It's kind of like this version of Pilaf, right? It can't grab itself because it is an Earthling, but that does mean that we do play the Aandroidd 18 just because it's an Aandroidd draw 1, and since we're not really loyal to any of our 1-drop draw cards, we can use that. And then the other card is the new Aandroidd 16. So this is a 10K. It also kind of is like the Vegeta, but being able to choose up to one of your opponent's battle cards and it gets minus 20k power for the turn when KO'd, which also means activate main, you can KO this card in a battle area to draw 1. So what you do is you play it, you attack with it, you then pop it, you draw a card, and you get something minus 20k, which gets removal for it. So I think that's very, very strong. Obviously, that can happen both turns on KO. You can only just KO yourself by using the activate main. So there it is there. Generally, this deck doesn't really care about being really aggressive. You want to get to the late game pretty healthy so you can play your big bomb cards. And I think Aandroidd 16 is really helpful for doing that as well. So other than that, we do have just kind of our generically good red cards. We're still playing Kefla and Gohan Adolescence and Vegeta. We do have 4-drop Jiren. A lot of decks still have to say you have to answer this, and if you don't, I get a lot of value from it. I also have been seeing a lot of addition of the 6-drop Jiren at a copy or two. So permanent this card cannot be removed from the battle area by your opponent's skills, which is pretty strong. And then on play, if your leader has Pride Troopers in its special traits and your opponent's life is at 2 or more, you take 1 damage, then deal 1 damage to your opponent. So essentially this is draw 2 cards, because your leader effect, if you're awakened, lets you take the damage and then heal it back, and then you get to still get the draw from the damage, but also deal damage to your opponent and then attack them for 40k afterwards, which can be great. So this doesn't do a lot generically, but I do think against something like Vegeta Mini Daima, where they don't really apply a lot of pressure, but they do just kind of have a lot of removal. The fact that this card can't be removed, it does damage that they can't really get around, and lets you draw 2 is really, really strong. So I do like the inclusion there. So other than that, I think the build here is pretty similar. There is also the addition of the Aandroidd 17 and 18, which I do like this against the blue decks where they play a bunch of 1-drops. This being able to get rid of, choose all battle cards in your opponent's battle area and they get minus 10k power is great. The fact that it's an Aandroidd, right, so it's searchable off your Dr. Flop is really good, and I still think this is strong. So I am really surprised to see not the Kefla and Gohan packages, because I feel like Gohan gets you a lot of pressure in the mid game to just kind of get some board clears, but I think Aandroidd 16 and a combination of 17 18 can also do that as well. So not much more to say, but here are the builds from our Jiren players, and make sure to check out the video too if you want a little bit more insight on some of the cards that were played as well. Next up, we've got the yellow Vegeta from FB02, and this in my mind is one of the newer decks in the meta, even though this released like a year ago, right, from in FB02. So part of the reason I think that, though, is that this is kind of a yellow control deck that we really haven't seen as much, right? I know Janemba tried that a little bit in FB05. Majin Buu is not a control deck in any way. I know there's also been some kind of builds of like, 1-drop or the Frieza from the first starter deck as well. But this one I think has been kind of creeping up for the last couple sets. It got a little bit of support here and there. And I think with the inclusion of Results of Training with the FS08 starter deck, you do have just a lot of like new value. Just being able to have like a way to get out of an attack and draw a card really just takes advantage of the untap 2 every turn, which is really nice. So these are the 2 builds though. This is from Riccardo and Aqua from the Italian and the TAC regionals respectfully. And I think like there is like a lot of like personal ratio building on like what actual extra cards you want to use, right? There are just a lot of great yellow ones that exist right now. Blue Power Awakening, which on release was kind of like a bad card, is now having a little bit of life in this one with Broly around, right? This does have a way to just get rid of a 6 or more for 2, which is an absurd way to just get a clear removal on something like that. We do have like a lot of defensive cards too. So Results of Training we talked about. We've got like Old Faithful, Time Rewound. We also have Hell Rakshasha and Final Explosion, which helps you get that those late games, right? 4-drop Frieza, just having a body on this board that you're able to just have for the entire game is really good. It's kind of what Vegeta kind of needed to be able to get into the late game. Just kind of something that attacks 30k every turn while you're removing stuff is great. We've got Golden Frieza as well, kind of a great late game card, and helps you against a lot of decks, especially like Broly. Some decks just don't get affected by this. But most of the time, like there's a lot of decks that like they only get double strike from a 5 or more. So because of that, they just can't get value from, they can't double strike you out of nowhere, which is really, really nice. So other than that, I think there's just like a lot of good yellow cards too. We also do have the inclusion of like the Vegeta Mini Daima from the starter deck as well. This being able to attack twice, get rid of a 4 cost, right? It's kind of like a larger version of like the Wicked Souls version of Vegeta that we got a couple sets ago. So having a big 30k version of it that hits a 4 or less is very impactful. We do have like a lot of like draws, right? And again, like you'll see between the 2 of them, the extra cards that you choose are really dependent on what it is. And kind of the other thing I want to mention too is that there's so many different like of extra cards that exist right now. It's really hard to play around all of them. You generally have to choose which one you want to play against or which one you think they have or don't have. And either if you guess wrong, or sometimes you have to just concede that you're going to give your opponent value no matter what, right? Hell Rakshasha just being able to rest anything is really good, right? This kind of gets out of 2 attacks for 2 energy and 1 card, and you get the 2 energy back for free, so that's very helpful for that. So other than that, I think that Vegeta is in a good spot, right? It's a little bit bricky, right? Because we do have to run a lot of combo cards inherently, but we also get to have a lot of defense too, which I think is really great. So as long as your opponent's not, hitting you with a lot of attacks in one turn, I think you have a lot of ways to get. I don't know, like the results of training really just helps you extend a lot, right? Usually the way you beat this deck is you just have like a bunch of 20k attacks that your opponent just has to eventually like get out of their hand. Results of training, being able to get out of an attack while not losing card advantage, I think helps you immensely for that side too. So again, here are the two builds, the Riccardo and Aqua. Congratulations for their finish with the Vegeta there. Next up, you've got the Vegeta Mini Daima. So again, this is one of the newer decks in leaders, right? This deck has not been viable outside of FB06. If I was to say something mildly controversial, I would say this is not doing really anything too different than what kind of Blue's been doing before, right? If you look at like Star Deck Vegeta, the first one, it's kind of just you grind out value, and then the late game you eventually just kind of get there. We do have a little bit more of an emphasis on removal with combination of the 4-drop Vegeta Mini Daima as well as the 5-drop Vegeta Mini Daima that we got from both the pre-release and the set themselves. It just means you have a lot of removal, you have a lot of pressure, and draw 3 is a lot of cards, right? To the point where sometimes you have to really make sure that your hand size is correct if you want to get some of your 7 or less kind of effects as well. So we've got 2 lists though. We've got Davide and JD's version of the builds here, and again, there's just like a lot of like good blue cards that exist that I think there's ways to just build this however you really want, right? Again, I think you do have to play the Vegeta Mini Daimas, right? These are both kind of 4s in my mind, but there are ways to kind of recycle value, right? We do have like a lot of good 3-drop removals such as Absolute Lightning and Sinister Sickle, which then you can use the 2-drop Vegeta from FP05 to get back to your hand, which is really nice. Our end game is a lot of like this Vegito, right? Which honestly, when we're drawing 3 almost 4 times in most games, right, this card being able to get to 0 cards in your deck is actually pretty likely, which is interesting in this build. So I think that's something that a lot of people are doing. I do also like this Trunks Future as like a way to remove something, but also in a pinch, this also can prevent you from decking out, which sometimes happens too. So you do have to be kind of careful of that. We have a lot of draw cards. I know a lot of people are playing this Beerus as well, so you get to KO one of your other battle cards, then choose up to one of your opponent's battle cards and return it to its owner's hand. So just really good against specifically Broly's for making sure that they don't get too much value from that as well. We do also have the build here from so we looked at Davide's version, so this is JD's version. So we do have like the promo that was released a while ago for Tamagami #1. This can be helpful for helping you get some protection, but also getting some reduction as well if you're attacking with it. So I think a lot of removal is kind of cost based right now, so that can help you there. We do have like a little bit more of a removal. We are playing the Son Goku Childhood, so with that we're playing like the Gallic Gun and Final Hope Slash, which does help us get there. If we need to go for game, honestly, like I think you do need like a really good double strike to help you go for game a lot of the time. So sometimes I think the Son Goku Childhood is really the way to go. So we also are running just the Vegeta Daima. This lets you draw a card if you have 7 or fewer and gets rid of a 3 or less. So I almost kind of want to say that the kind of OG double strike Vegeta might be better in some spots, just because it hits a 4 or less, which like the card draw I think for this deck is so tricky to get to, because again we usually have like more than, it's really easy for this deck to have more than 7 cards in your hand compared to a lot of other blue decks, so that can be something that can change it. But generally speaking, I think both are just great. It just really depends on, like, generally this is just to remove like a 1-drop, right? If you really wanted to remove something bigger, you'd use like Vegeta Mini Daima and or either other Vegeta Mini Daima with your leader effect. So I think that's kind of fine there. But other than that, I think this deck is still good. It's cool to see a deck that was just considered terrible just get 2 support cards, and then it's really viable all of a sudden. And I think this is still in a really good spot. So here are the builds here for the Vegeta Mini Daimas. Next up, we've got Broly. So we got 2 top 16s in the Italian regionals. We've got this build from Marcello, and then we also have this build from Nicholas. Broly is a little bit more linear, I feel like, in its deck construction compared to a lot of other decks. You just have to run your Broly cards, right? Your chain's really understood too, right? You go into one of your 8 drops into your 9 drop if you can, and then you just kind of win the game from there, right? So the kind of the tech cards there are what you do to kind of get to those points, right? So the fact that we do have like the Son Goku secret rare, right? This being able to have some like double strike in some weird spots, it's very easy for us to be at 2 or less life. And since we're going to be at 4 energy for most of the game, that does kind of help us there as well. We do have like a decision if we want to play the 1-drop Chi Lai or not, right? Which you know, on reading is like a really cracked card. The fact that it helps you like awaken and gives protection to your Broly is good, but it also is just like a one drop that's kind of easy to remove sometimes. So that is kind of you know, a liability. I think most people are just kind of on 4 Boss, 4 Paragus, and then some additional cantrips as well. Murray being able to be just like the best self awakener for us, being a 10k. Honestly, like even though like it's in the color that doesn't need it maybe as much, like this is one of the best self awakeners in the game right now, right? It's a one drop 10k counter, or sorry, yeah, that also lets you get like a life, right? Like for one, this like draws you a card to like, it's just like really great late game too. So I really like the inclusion of that card. Other than that, you know, it's just a lot of value you can get, right? I know a lot of people are playing full power now, which generally I didn't see this card as much, but again, if you're at 2 or less life, being able to KO 2, 4 or less is great. Planet Vampa, you really want to see that card in curve. It draws you a card every turn for the rest of the game. I know some people are playing Rampage or Control, right? Being able to get a plus 25k for 1, as well as the Shuddering Roar, being able to get rid of a 3 or less and get a draw. Which just kind of like, there's like your 3 energy turn is always really weird in this deck because you really want to be able to do something with it. I know a lot of people are on like Nappa to be able to go from 3 to 4, and then especially like if you had the marker going second, you can turn your marker into a energy, and then you go to 4 in the next turn. So that can help you ramp there. But I think most people are off Nappa now, which is kind of interesting to see that big shift and change from there. So other than that, I think this is still a good deck. It's obviously like one of the most pushed decks I think in this format. I know a lot of people are on it, and I think it is really strong, but it is kind of linear, and because of that, it's really tricky to kind of sequence it the best that you can. But here's the build here. Congratulations to Marcello and Nicholas respectively for their finishes. And then next up, we've got the Son Goku. So this is the Namek Goku. This is played by Hasey, who also did a deck profile. So if you guys want to check that out, it's linked in the description if you want to see their insights. Their insights going to be way better than mine, but again, I'm going to try my best anyways. It's kind of the new cards though for this one are obviously I think cards that were mostly made to kind of support the Broly deck, which generally speaking, I think Son Goku and Broly are pretty similar a lot of the ways on how they work, right? They don't play the same energy game all the time. The fact that we have ways to like heal, and the fact that we have ways to make these like kind of larger bodies for cheaper, I think are all just kind of great ways that this deck kind of works. So first main card though that we have is this Frieza BR. This card is great. So add up to 1 card from your life to your hand, then choose up to 2 power cards with a cost of 1 or less in your opponent's battle area and KO them. So this being able to get rid of some 1-drops specifically against something like the blue Goku is really great, right? The fact that it's a 10k is great. The fact that it self awakens, all these things are great. I think this is just a really good card in this format in general. We also have the Chilai BR, which you're playing 2 copies of. This being able to protect our Son Goku is great too because it's a 7 or more. So there are some times where if you're playing against, generally not yellow is definitely the deck where you have to be really careful about like how much of their them just stunning your Goku and then you're not being able to play a new one or attack with the old one. So, but outside of that color, I think Chilai being able to say, you know what, I can play my 7-drop really early. I can play the Chilai out to, you know, protect it. And then I'm really not afraid of like a hard removal since it protects any kind of removal, right? It's not just like KO'd, right? So they can, you know, if they need to bounce this back to hand, they need to do a lot to do so. And again, it's a 7 cost, so some decks really have some hard time interacting with it. So I think it's a cool little protection that you just generally get to have with this deck inherently too. So other than that, we do have like the draw 2, we have the instant Kamehameha, the destructor desk, and the full power as well. So that does help us. We have a lot of recursion with cards like Arcel Jr. as well. Being able to use this card to get the Dr. Brief spaceship to draw 2 more, I think is great. And I think this deck is in a really good spot, honestly. I was looking at this, I'm like, man, there's some really good synergies still. I think she like the 2 cards that we got really helped the deck out a lot. And I think it's really cool to see it and kind of shown this way as well. So not much more to say. Here's the build here from Hasey. Make sure to watch their video for a better overview, and congratulations for their top 8 there. And then lastly, we've got Aandroidd 17, and this is Alan's version of the deck, who also got a top 8 finish in the TAC Oceania Regionals. And I don't really have much more to say about Aandroidd 17 that I haven't said for the last year plus that this deck has been pretty relevant. So generally speaking, it's really relevant because this is the best ramp card in the game. It's really flexible, right? The fact that you can use 2 in 1 turn sometimes, the fact that it's a body that's relevant, that's also a 10k. There's like, and the fact that this card is searchable off of two separate cards that this deck runs. It's just good. It's just really, really good. So there is some decision if you want to play the Jiro's Lab version of this deck, which we are playing. It's a little bit slower to set up, but if we do, we get a lot of value off of our cells and our Broly BR, which this deck is still really good at playing this because we do naturally get to 10 energy pretty quickly. The fact that it's a board clear that lets you heal no matter what is just really, really strong. So sometimes this is a little bit expensive to play because we have to play it and then sometimes still have like one, or I guess in this case 2 energy open for Earth Destroying Blow, but that is the case. I know a lot of people are playing I-Beam because it is an Aandroidd card, so we do still get the flexibility from being able to not only search this in some cards, but also being able to, this is important tag to have for our 17-18 as well. Sun Gohan Youth, I know a lot of people are playing this as well. And then the Frieza BR, so this is from FB06, so it's a blocker. And then permit this card, if there's a card of 7 or more in a battle area, this can't be KO'd for the per turn, so once per turn. So I really don't know how I feel about this card, right? So I guess this is fine, right? There are some like weird energy turns where you could play this for 4. The fact that it can't be KO'd is great, though you can still remove it outright, but it can be strong, I think, in some mirror matches. But it's definitely an interesting card that I don't see generally in this deck either. So I don't have much more to say, though. Here's the build here from Alan, and congratulations for their top 8 with Aandroidd 17. So other than that, that's going to be it for us. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. We've got a lot of data here if you guys want to check it out. In general, I think this meta is fine. It's just I'm just kind of over it. It's just like we're not really getting that much new stuff, right? It's still just kind of the same as usual with Majin Buu and FB03 Goku. I think they're still very present. I know they're not like overwhelmingly present, but they're still just been around for so long that I really would like appreciate a bit of a refresh on some new stuff. But that's also just my opinion, right? It's just my opinion. You guys can have your own opinions with it, and we'll kind of see what happens in the next couple weeks as well. So that's going to be it for me. Thank you for watching, and we'll catch you all next time.
Damn it.